The air carries the sweet, sharp scent of freshly turned earth after a gentle rain, a smell that anyone who loves the soil knows by heart. You step out onto your green lawn, perhaps carrying a tray of delicate tomato seedlings, or looking across a sprawling field waiting for the plow, and your eyes immediately lock onto those stubborn patches of wild growth pushing through the soil. We have been conditioned to see these persistent plants as the enemy, a sign of neglect that needs to be eradicated with expensive sprays from the home improvement store or hours of backbreaking labor. But what if the most nutrient-dense greens, the most potent soil builders, and the absolute best health supplements aren't found in a plastic bottle at Costco or a specialty grocery store, but right beneath your work boots for free? Some of these overlooked backyard plants are actually more valuable than the very vegetables you are trying so hard to grow, offering a bounty of food, natural medicine, and soil support, without costing you a single penny. Before you pull, mow, or spray another plant, let us take a closer look at 6 common backyard weeds that might completely change how you view your land. Whether you are managing a few containers on a sunlit balcony, tending a beautiful kitchen garden, or managing acres of production farmland, if you want to transform your relationship with the earth and discover how to turn these overlooked plants into real food, natural remedies, and incredible garden value, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and join our growing community. We talk about the real practical ways to work with nature rather than fighting against it, and having you here makes a world of difference. Once you have hit that button, please drop a comment below and share your location. Whether that is your specific city, a quiet rural village, a farming district, or your country, gardeners, homesteaders, and small-scale farmers from all over the world gather right here to share their wisdom. And knowing exactly where your soil is located helps us understand how our global community is growing together. It is always so beautiful to see how a shared love for the land connects a high-rise apartment balcony in the city to a vast, rolling field in the countryside. Let us dive right into the first plant, one that almost every single household in America recognizes instantly, but has somehow been trained to hate. You have undoubtedly seen the bright yellow faces of dandelions, poking through cracks in the driveway, dotting the edges of your raised beds, or carpet bombing a pristine green lawn before turning into those fluffy white puffballs that children love to blow into the wind. European settlers actually brought the humble dandelion to North America on purpose because they understood its immense value as a reliable food source and a healing herb. Yet today we spend millions of dollars trying to chemically banish it. The absolute magic of the dandelion lies in its incredible nutritional profile, as the vibrant green leaves are packed with vitamin K, beta-carotene, and essential minerals like calcium. The entire plant is a powerhouse of utility. The young, tender leaves bring a wonderful, slightly bitter crunch to fresh summer salads. The bright yellow flowers can be steeped into a soothing tea, and the thick, deep taproot can be roasted to create a rich, caffeine-free coffee substitute. To use dandelions as a nutritious tonic for your garden or crops, you can harness the deep-mined minerals from their roots by making a simple fermented plant juice. Head out into your yard with a garden fork. Lift the whole dandelion plants out of the earth, wash off the heavy clods of dirt, and chop the leaves and roots into small pieces. Mix equal parts of these chopped dandelions with brown sugar by weight in a clean glass jar or a large plastic bucket, pressing it down firmly until the sugar begins to draw out the dark, rich plant juices. Cover the container with a breathable cloth, let it sit in a dark cupboard for about a week to ferment, and then strain out the thick, sweet liquid. For a home gardener with a few backyard pots or a raised bed, mix 2 tablespoons of this fermented liquid into a standard 1-gallon watering can filled with fresh water. If you are a small-scale farmer looking to boost soil biology across a larger plot, scale this up by mixing 1 quart of the fermented liquid into a 50-gallon spray tank. Apply this mineral-rich liquid directly to the base of your plants early in the morning when the dew is still wet on the leaves, repeating the application every 2 weeks during the active growing season to feed the soil microbes and strengthen plant roots. But here is where the conversation gets really interesting, because while dandelions are fantastic for vitamins, the next weed on our list tackles something that people spend a fortune on in the supplement aisle. Purslane is a plant that looks entirely different, growing low and tight to the baking hot ground, sporting thick, juicy, succulent leaves and smooth, reddish stems that seem to thrive in dry patio cracks and neglected corners where nothing else wants to live. Most households rip this plant out in July and August, completely unaware that purslane is one of the highest plant-based sources of alpha-linolenic acid, which is an essential omega-3 fatty acid. It is almost comical to think about someone driving to a big box store to buy an expensive bottle of fish oil capsules, only to come home and pull a superior, crisp, tangy superfood out of their tomato patches to throw into the trash. Purslane absolutely loves the intense heat of summer, staying incredibly juicy and green when your lettuce is wilting, your spinach has bolted, and your cilantro has completely given up on life. Beyond its amazing culinary uses in fresh salads and stir-fries, purslane can be transformed into a deeply hydrating, nutrient-dense foliar spray that helps your other crops withstand severe drought stress. Gather a few handfuls of fresh, fleshy purslane stems and leaves from your garden paths, place them into an old kitchen blender, and add just enough water to allow the blades to liquefy the succulent material. The logic here is simple. Purslane contains thick mucilage, natural sugars, and antioxidants that protect plant cells from drying out under a blazing sun. Strain this thick green liquid through a fine mesh sieve or a piece of cheesecloth to remove any pulp that might clog your equipment. For small-scale home use, pour 4 tablespoons of this strained purslane concentrate into a handheld spray bottle filled with a quart of water. For larger farming applications, mix 3 gallons of the concentrate into a tractor-mounted boom sprayer per acre. Spray this natural heat shield elixir onto the leaves of your vegetables or field crops during the cool evening hours, right before a predicted heat wave, allowing the plants to absorb the protective compounds before the temperature spikes. Most people throw this next plant away without ever realizing what it can do, treating it like a common nuisance when it is actually a majestic wild relative of one of the world's most popular health foods. Lamb's quarters tends to show up silently around the edges of old compost piles, along farm fence lines, and in any patch of recently disturbed soil. It features gorgeous, soft green leaves with a distinctive, dusty white, powdery coating on the undersides that repels water droplets like tiny beads of mercury. Lamb's quarters is essentially wild spinach, but it actually belongs to the same plant family as quinoa, meaning its leaves are incredibly dense with plant-based protein, iron, calcium, and vitamins A and C. While you might spend weeks pampering fragile spinach seeds with precise watering and pest covers only to watch them bolt, Lamb's quarters grows completely unattended, offering a continuous harvest of delicious, earthy greens that can be sautéed with garlic or tossed into morning omelets. You can also use the high nitrogen and protein content of Lamb's quarters to create an exceptional, fast-acting liquid fertilizer that gives pale, yellowing plants an immediate boost of energy. Pull the leafy stalks of Lamb's quarters before they go to seed, bruise the tough stems by snapping them in your hands, and pack them tightly into a large container, like a 5-gallon bucket or a 50-gallon plastic drum. Fill the vessel with water until the plant material is completely submerged. Put a loose lid on top and let it sit in a sunny spot to stew for about 2 to 3 weeks. You will know it is ready when the water turns a deep, dark greenish-brown and takes on a strong, earthy, stagnant aroma that tells you the nutrients have broken down. Home gardeners can dilute this wild spinach tea by mixing 1 part of the liquid with 10 parts of clean water in a watering can, pouring it directly over the soil around hungry backyard vegetables. Farmers can run the strained liquid through their drip irrigation lines at a ratio of 5 gallons per acre to provide a cost-effective, chemical-free nitrogen feeding. This potent brew should be applied once every 3 weeks during the peak vegetative growth phase, preferably on a cloudy day or late in the afternoon, so the soil stays damp and absorbs every drop. Your grandmother probably knew this next one, but somehow it got completely forgotten along the way, as modern lawns became hyper-manicured. Wood sorrel is a tiny, delicate green that loves to hide away in the cool, damp shade under backyard trees, along old wooden fence lines, and around the north sides of patio containers, where traditional vegetables struggle to get enough light. It looks very similar to clover at first glance, but it features perfect, distinct heart-shaped leaves and dainty little yellow flowers that pack a surprisingly intense, bright, sour punch that tastes exactly like fresh lemons. Wood sorrel gets this wonderful tangy flavor from natural oxalic acid, making it an incredible gourmet garnish to brighten up heavy dishes, fish, or wild salads. Because it thrives in partial shade, it fills the difficult, empty zones of your yard, turning unproductive dead space into a source of vibrant culinary excitement. Because wood sorrel is naturally rich in these bright, acidic compounds, you can extract its juices to create a fantastic, mild pest deterrent spray that discourages soft-bodied insects from munching on your prized plants. Gather a generous amount of wood sorrel leaves and flowers from the shady margins of your property. Chop them roughly and steep them in a pot of boiling water for about 20 minutes, essentially making a very strong, sour herbal tea. Allow the liquid to cool down completely to room temperature. Then strain out the spent leaves through a fine cloth. To make the spray stick to your plants, add half a teaspoon of liquid Castile soap, which can be found in any bathroom or kitchen cabinet, to every quart of the wood sorrel tea. Home gardeners can use a small trigger sprayer to apply this sour wash to the undersides of leaves, where aphids and mites like to hide. Small farmers can scale up the recipe, using 5 gallons of the sour tea per 50 gallons of water in their backpack or field sprayers. Apply this treatment early in the morning before the sun gets high and hot, repeating the application once a week or immediately after a heavy rain until the pest pressure subsides. Now, the next plant changes the entire conversation, because up until this point, we have been talking about weeds that feed you, but this one works tirelessly to feed your soil from the bottom up. Clover is a plant that most neighborhoods treat as a sign of a messy, neglected lawn, but those little 3-part leaves and round white or red blossoms are actually doing the heavy lifting for your ecosystem. Clover is a nitrogen-fixing legume, which means it forms a beautiful partnership with beneficial soil bacteria to grab nitrogen gas directly from the air and transform it into a usable fertilizer right in the ground. Ripping out clover or spraying it with broadleaf herbicides is like throwing away a free, continuous supply of premium fertilizer that works around the clock to enrich your dirt. It acts as a gorgeous living mulch that prevents soil erosion, retains precious moisture in the earth, keeps the ground cool during brutal summers, and provides an absolute haven for essential pollinators, like honeybees. Whether you are a home gardener or a small farmer, you can utilize the incredible nitrogen wealth of clover by creating a nutrient-packed green manure slurry. Mow or weed a large patch of clover from your pathways, ensuring you get both the leaves and the blossoms, and run them through a lawnmower catcher, or chop them finely with a sharp spade. Take this green clover mass and mix it directly into a barrel of water, adding a cup of unsulfured molasses from your kitchen pantry to feed the beneficial bacteria that will break down the legumes. Let the mixture bubble and ferment for 4 to 5 days, stirring it vigorously with a large stick once a day to introduce oxygen. Home gardeners can pour this thick, nitrogen-rich slurry directly onto their backyard, raised beds, or around heavy-feeding plants like corn and broccoli. Farmers can apply this green manure extract directly onto their fields using a liquid manure spreader or a broad nozzle spray rig before planting their main crops. Apply this living fertilizer in the early spring as the ground begins to warm up, or right after a harvest to restore tired, depleted soil for the next planting cycle. The final weed on our list may not look very impressive when it first emerges, but its true power lies entirely in its impeccable timing. Chickweed grows as a soft, lush, bright green carpet with tiny oval leaves, delicate trailing stems, and minuscule white flowers that look like perfect little stars scattered across the dirt. It appears in the late winter and very early spring, long before your backyard garden even wakes up, showing up at a time when your tomato starts are still indoors and your raised beds look completely bare. Chickweed is highly valued as a mild, tender edible green that provides a burst of fresh vitamin C and cooling minerals precisely when you are craving fresh food after a long, cold winter. It gives households an abundance of early-season freshness for sandwiches and salads without requiring any greenhouse heating or expensive row covers. You can easily capture the soothing, mineral-rich properties of chickweed to make a wonderful, nurturing soil drench that helps tender young seedlings overcome transplant shock. Pull a basket of fresh chickweed from the cool garden edges, crush the stems thoroughly with your hands to bruise the cell walls, and submerge them in a bucket of cold water for 24 hours to create a cold extraction tea. This gentle method preserves the delicate enzymes and vitamins that heat would otherwise destroy. Strain the crisp, green liquid through a kitchen colander to remove the plant debris. Home gardeners can use this undiluted cold chickweed tea to water their young seedlings right after moving them from indoor trays into the backyard dirt. Small-scale farmers can apply this soothing drench to their newly transplanted field rows through a water cart or a localized irrigation line. Use this gentle tonic during the cool morning hours. At the exact time of transplanting, giving your young crops a second dose 1 week later to ensure they establish deep, resilient roots in the fresh earth. When you bring all 6 of these incredible plants together, you begin to realize that this is no longer a conversation about managing annoying backyard weeds, but about recognizing a beautiful, abundant food and soil system that we were trained not to see. Dandelion feeds your family with deep earth minerals. Purslane provides highly sought-after plant omega-3s. Lamb's quarters offers abundant protein. Wood sorrel adds a bright splash of natural citrus flavor. Clover heals and fertilizes the soil naturally, and chickweed steps up to fill the early spring harvest gap. The underlying issue is never that your yard or field has weeds. It is simply that modern lawn culture has taught us to blind ourselves to the free value growing right under our feet. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today, sitting down to uncover the hidden secrets of the earth we walk on every single day. If this conversation has brought a little bit of inspiration to your day, please subscribe to the channel, as your support helps us keep sharing these practical, natural solutions with the world. Don't forget to drop your location in the comments below, because whether you are watching